All right, joining me live from Toronto now is the president of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Berry Vrbanovic. And Berry, we just had, looking at Calgary, hearing from Walter Robinson. Of course, he has some ideas. He used to be the chief of staff to the mayor here in Ottawa. But I wonder if we could just chat about, one of the common denominators we often hear from cities when they're trying to balance the budget is the just so hamstrung when it comes to how do you raise revenue. And I wonder if there's discussions that the FCM is having, trying to see if there are some creative ways to allow municipalities perhaps to go into deficit, to transfer tax points. What are some, if any, of the options that are on the table so far as finding more ways to get money for municipalities?
Well, David, I think you're absolutely right. As was pointed out, municipalities only receive 8 cents out of every tax dollar collected in this country, and yet we're seeing ourselves being faced increasing burden on the responsibilities that we have to deal with. We're responsible for 50% of all the infrastructure in the country. We pay 2 out of every 3 police officers' salaries, and we've seen downloading that's come to us in areas like affordable housing, immigrant settlement, and so on. So we are very much hamstrung. As you know, we've made some inroads in terms of infrastructure and some funding in that regard, and we've begun a dialogue with the government, or we're in the course of beginning a dialogue as a result of the current budget that is in the process of being approved, and includes developing a long-term strategy with funding for when the current Building Canada Fund comes to an end in 2014.
Now, one of the things Rick Bell brought up was, Rick Bell's the columnist covering Calgary City Council.
Sure.
Some aldermen said, why don't we privatize a certain service, and that didn't seem to be very popular. But this is one of the things that Walter Robinson has been sometimes talking about is that city politicians themselves, municipal politicians themselves, maybe need to be a little more creative, outside the box, in bringing in the private sector, public-private partnerships. Do you get a sense that there's much appetite for that among Canada's big cities?
Well, I think as I talk to my colleagues across the country, we see that various municipalities have undertaken a variety of options in order to ensure that their books stay balanced and that they meet the needs of their communities. I mean, we know that Canada's success really relies on the economic viability of our cities and communities, to ensure that there's jobs in place, that our families are looked after, and the reality is that municipalities are continually looking at a variety of options in order to meet those fiscal challenges.
All right, so in terms of do you get a sense that any particular municipalities are doing some, I'm going to give you a chance to single some people out, somebody's doing a particularly innovative job. Maybe we can look to this city or that city, maybe your city, of course, Kitchener-Waterloo. Is there anybody who's maybe found some solutions?
Well, I think, folks across the country are, as they say, are looking at a variety of options. As you know, we currently do have the gas tax in place, and one of the things we may be faced with in terms of, looking at future funding mechanisms is some sort of indexation of that gas tax going forward. Mm-hmm. I do know that, looking at my own municipality as an example, one of the things we did do was put in place an economic development investment fund as an example, with the idea of leveraging private sector dollars, and we've seen some of that happening. Obviously, the other thing that is key going forward for municipalities, one of the only federal funds that still have money available, is the P3 Canada Fund, and we know the municipalities are very closely looking at that to see how they can partner with the private sector in order to meet some of the infrastructure and other challenges they're facing going forward.
All right, Berry Vrbanovic, thank you so much for joining us, President of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. Thanks again, Berry.
Thanks, always a pleasure, David.